Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please email me directly for pricing at tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust 41. This is reference 126300. The Datejust 41 succeeded the Datejust 2 in 2016. The year after the model debuted, you were able to get it, as you see here, in full stainless steel from 2017 on. So this model is 904L stainless steel of bracelet and of case. It measures 41 millimeters in diameter, 11.7 millimeters thick, from lug tip to lug tip, 47.5 millimeters, and the bracelet's more or less the distance from lug to lug. It doesn't have big protruding end links, so 47.5 is the total distance across the wrist. It has 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. When you throw the watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, it's a good match. Now, one big change with the Datejust 41 compared to the Datejust 2 is that the 41 is available on the Jubilee bracelet, whereas the Datejust 2 was only ever available on the Oyster. And that Oyster had solid end links, which resulted in a watch being up to 53 millimeters across the wrist. So the Datejust 2 wears huge. The Datejust 41 wears considerably closer to the 36 in total wrist span. It's an easy watch to wear, and I can recommend it for a wrist as small as even 13.5 centimeters circumference, which is rare for a watch of this size. It easily slides underneath the cuff because it is flat with a sloped bezel. Now, Rolex makes its own cases, clasps, and bracelets, and it makes its own steel. 904L, it's not harder than conventional steel, but it is more resistant to corrosion against sweat, sea salt, and certain industrial acids. It does not need to be rinsed, whereas 316 can eventually begin to corrode in the presence of salt in particular. This, like Zinn U-boat style, does not need to be rinsed after salt exposure. Now, because here we have a Super Jubilee, it wears as sturdy as a sports bracelet. By Super Jubilee, I mean we have a much thicker gauge clasp internal, and we have all solid links so that it's very robust, but it vents better than an Oyster because of more gaps between links. Also, because of the short cross section compared to the Oyster bracelet, it's a little bit more comfortable and silky smooth. We have several removable links fixed by screws on each side. You can see that the clasp internal is polished. It does have a beak and a hook internally to latch shut and lock. You can see that there's a combination of polish and satin externally. And then internally we have Easy Link, which is a 5 millimeter in or out, snap down, snap off tool-free adjustment system. So in addition to Easy Link, you might be able to see this, and I'll do my best to show, there are some divots inside. So you can use your strap tool to move the spring bar and change the anchoring point of the bracelet inside of the case to fine-tune. So you have removable links, you have Easy Link, and then you have those divots. The case is graceful and handsomely tapered with lovely narrow lug profiles. You can see there's a conforming end link that traces both the arc of the lugs and then the curvature of the case. So there's no gap between bracelet and case. Conical bezel, screw down twin lock crown. You know you're looking at a twin lock in steel, and you see that little slash. 100 meters water resistant sapphire crystal with Cyclops eye magnifier, and then a dial that is made of dark rhodium, or at least it's coated in dark rhodium. The dial base itself is brass, but this gray coating is dark rhodium. Normally when you see rhodium on a Swiss movement, it's a silver flash that you find on the case back of a watch. Well, here it's applied more thickly and to a darker tone to create something that looks a lot like ruthenium. Now, it's a metallic sunburst texture. We have white gold hands, white gold indices, white gold crown. All of these for the sake of longevity, as these features will not oxidize, tarnish, or discolor over time. We will do a lume shot here. Rolex makes everything, including its own lubricants, shock protection, and lume. And here we have Rolex Chromolite Blue Lume. Easy watch to see in the dark. Screw down case, Oyster style. Inside, Rolex caliber 3235, automatic winding, 70-hour power reserve, stop seconds, quick set date, 31 joules, 8 beats per second, COSC chronometer certified. It has a couple of other refinements. Compared to the 3135, this uses a rotor bearing rather than a jeweled staff for greater shock tolerance. Like most modern era Rolex movements, it uses a free sprung balance with a full balance bridge for shock tolerance, and it has an overcoil hairspring made by hand so that in any position, particularly during chronometry testing, the watch will keep the same time. That overcoil is made of a blue oxidized niobium zirconium alloy that Rolex calls parachrom blue, and it is highly anti-magnetic. Finally, it's also important to note that Rolex even includes its own shock protection, Paraflex, a robust system that replaces Rolex's longtime use of KIF. This movement is certified as a chronometer, but Rolex then takes the chronometer certified movement, cases it up, and tests it in 6 positions to run no worse than -2 + 2 seconds every 24 hours, which is Rolex's superlative chronometer standard. For a long time, those words meant nothing on the dial. Now it means an exacting timing standard that is far in excess of COSC standards. Remember, COSC is just the bare movement tested. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.